So just a little disclaimer before we begin. I'm not claiming to be some kind of computer expert or computer guru, but just starting out, I know OBS can be kind of confusing and kind of you don't know what to do or where everything's at. This is just stuff that I have found on my own through my own research that I've noticed, and I've actually helped other people out with it. Hopefully I can help other people out with this information. If this isn't helpful to you at all, I'm sorry for wasting your time. And if it is helpful to you, I'm glad that I can actually help somebody, and I hope you all enjoy. Hello everybody, DefChimp here, and today I'm going to be doing another tutorial over OBS, but this time it's going to be like a more in-depth, just like an explanation of all the different settings and stuff like that. I did one several months ago, and that video is kind of outdated, and I pretty much didn't really get into explaining what things does, but this video I'm going to explain some things. So let's just start. Here we see my OBS is the ones that I'm using. Just how my setup is. And so first thing first, go to settings, general. I mean, you don't really need to. I don't mess with any of this. I haven't touched it, and except for, I mean, you might want to mess with your snap sensitivity. If it's not snapping in the right place, then you might mess with that a little bit. But I don't need confirmation windows. You might if you want them, but it's all up to you really. And main thing really is, I mean, stream, that's pretty much self-explanatory. Your output, this is the most important part, and basically this is going to be where you choose your encoders. And starting off, if you just fresh install OBS, you'll see something like this. You don't really see everything, and one thing you'll want to do is, if you're streaming, you want to set this to advanced. You want to set it to advanced regardless. But what happens is when you set this to advanced, you get a couple more options that will actually help your stream quality. And basically, you've got your audio tracks. I just set it to 1. Your encoder, and what this is basically. See, I have 2 options here. I've got the H.264 encoder, which is the AMD Advanced Media Framework, and also the X264. The AMD Advanced Media Framework, that's the it used to be named the Video Coding Engine, VCE, but they changed the name. And this is for those who have AMD compatible hardware. You use your GPU for the encoder. That's your software encoder, and that will use your CPU. You'll notice that if you have any of the other options, when you switch, your CPU utilization will be different. Like right now, I'm only using 1.3 because I'm using the hardware encoder. But if I was to use the software encoder, it'd jump up to like 9% CPU utilization. So what you'll want to do is, if you've got a system that can handle it, then streaming, I would always suggest using just the regular software 264 encoder, because you will get a little bit better quality. But if you can't do the quality that you want with software encoder, then go for it. Go for the hardware encoders, whether it be the AMD's Advanced Media Framework or NVIDIA's NVEC or Intel's QuickSync. Any of those will do the job. And the 264, that's only if your CPU can handle it. And then for streaming service encoder settings, rescale output, I don't rescale, but I just have it set to 1080p, so it's not rescaling at all. You'll want to use CBR. You don't want to use any of the other ones, because for streaming they actually request to use CBR. Your bitrate, that can be anywhere from, well, essentially 0 to 6,000, depending on what you're streaming with. With Twitch, it used to be 3,000 was the max bitrate you could stream at, but now they've updated to 6,000 megabits per second. And this is all depending on your internet connection speed. If you've got like 15 or whatever MBS upload, then yeah, you can use 6,000. I really don't have an issue with streaming, so that's why mine's set to 6,000, which is Twitch's max. Don't use a custom buffer size. For your keyframe interval, this is very important because this is what I was talking about, the advanced. Because if you put it to simple, you won't see this, and it'll be set to 0, which is auto. And when you're streaming, most streaming sites, I know YouTube and Twitch both requested to use the two keyframe interval. If you use 0, it's going to your stream health might actually go into the red, and that's where a lot of people have the issue, is because it's set to 0. So you want to change your keyframe interval from 0 to 2. And this is all based, the CPU usage preset is all on what your CPU can handle. I have it on very fast. Some people need to have it on super fast. With that, you'll have to do some research, which I will. I don't have any profile set, no tune, nothing like that. I don't really use any of that, and I don't use any 2x64 options. So yeah, that's it for my streaming settings. And for my streaming settings, I mean, I'm gaming in 1080p 60 frames per second, and I stream in 1080p 60 frames per second. And so let's go into the next thing, which is recording. I do have it set to standard. You got your recording path, which could be any folder you select. Recording format, you always want to go with, I don't know, I would suggest going with MP4. If you do it with FLV, you might have issues with some editors. Like normally I use HitFilm to edit, and when I upgraded my computer, I didn't change this, and so it's set to FLV, so I had to convert the file to MP4 because HitFilm doesn't use FLV format. For audio tracks, select whatever number you want, and your encoder. Like with me, if I'm recording, I'm going to be using my hardware encoder, and basically when I use my hardware encoder, I crank up the bitrate for my recording, so because I'm going to upload my videos in 1080p 60 frames per second on YouTube. So I'm going to use my hardware encoder, and then here, preset recording, I set it to quality, and my target bitrate is 15,000 megabits per second. And I think let's see here, I can't remember, if I remember correctly, I'm going to say that YouTube bitrate for, like if you just type in recommended upload encoding settings, this is recommended for YouTube. So for bitrate, of course, you got your SDR and your HDRs, and as you can see, let's see, where's it at? 1080p. I mean, I go for high frame rate, which is 60, like I said, 60 frames per second. And yeah, so I'm going to be going for this. This is going to be my target. So my target's going to be that. So let's open this back up, and yeah, that's my target bitrate, and my peak is 20. So anywhere between that. For the minimum QP and the maximum QP, to be honest, I really don't know what that is. I'm not touching them because my settings for this, it works well, so I'm not touching them. I tried to look it up a little bit, really couldn't find anything about it. But if someone could tell me in the comments section what the minimum QP is, what maximum QP is, I would greatly appreciate it, because you know, you always learn something new every day. For my VVV buffer, I set it to automatic, and just keep this, basically I keep this all the same. And frame skipping disabled. Most of the stuff I don't really mess with, although I'm going to change this to 2.0, keep my keyframe interval the same. And yeah, you'll want to use direct 3D 11. Of course, you got my video adapter and stuff like that. Like I said, I use my hardware encoder for recording, and basically it's all based on preference. But if you want to use the same encoder, you can just click on use stream encoder, and there, it'll use all your settings from your stream. But I'm recording at a much higher bitrate than my stream, so I have it different. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say about that. And you got your, your audio tracks. And audio, I don't mess with any of that. And video, bass resolution, output resolution, it's the same. And I've got my frame set to 60. And you'll want to change that. Like if you don't want to do 60, you can change it to 30 or any of these other. But I would keep it to 60 unless you can't do it. And let's see, processor priority, normal. That's really depending on like if you got a decent system, then you can handle it with normal. Which before I upgraded, my system wasn't that great, so I actually had to set it to above normal priority and sometimes even high. And of course you got the renderer, all this stuff, all this good stuff. I really haven't even messed with any of this. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for that. I think I pretty much touched base on the settings that I use and what I would suggest using. If you have any questions at all, feel free to hit me up in the comments section. If you got any tips or anything like that, some things that I might not know, let me know. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Like I said, if you've got a lower end computer and you do have one of these other encoding options, it's probably going to work to your best advantage if you use that, because it'll take some of the load off of your CPU and put it on your GPU. And like I said, I had an older system before I upgraded, and I wasn't able to stream in 720p with my CPU. And then I found out about the video coding engine and actually switched encoders to the VCE encoder, and I was actually able to stream in 80p. But for a lower end system and a slower internet connection, you might have to lower your bit rate. I would not suggest lowering it down below 2000. Try to keep it above 2000 if your internet speeds can handle it, but do what you can do. But all your other settings will stay the same. And if your computer handle it, I would suggest using software encoding for streaming and hardware encoder for recording. But it's totally up to you. It's total preference. That's just what I choose. That's what actually someone else recommended for me to use, and that's what I would recommend. So yeah, if you got any tips or anything, that some stuff I didn't mention or anything like that, let me know in the comments section. Hope this was helpful. Hope it was informative. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you didn't like it, if I think I'm just a big retard and don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and give me a dislike. But for those who are new to the channel, subscribers are always welcome. And thank you for viewing my video. And you all take it easy. Peace.